Politics. Yeah, politics. Well, as in the last video, I said I'm a Labour support. I'm a Labour member. I'm a Labour supporter. I've not been politically active all that long. um, since about 2000, since about Boris came in, was when I really got politically active. But my mind had been opened a bit more from about the Brexit referendum, or about maybe the independence referendum onwards. That's when I first started getting opened up. And I knew this because I moved to Plymouth. And when I moved to Plymouth, at the time I moved to Plymouth, it become what we call blue kip. Yeah, Tories and UKIP controlling it. I just remember being very not happy about this. And when I looked up on the reasons why I felt like it was just, it was just rehashing money towards wealthier, bigger companies, not helping out the smaller companies. In the time I was in Plymouth, I watched so many smaller companies obliterated, just gone. In Torbay, where I live now, in Dyfnant, we, I like this. I love this area, but the majority of people in this area would say that it is a shithole. And where's the cash injection for down here? Yes, there's a Tory in charge in Torquay. I think there's one in Totnes constituency, but what is the point in having a political party in charge when they're only going to do superficial stuff? And when you look at the voting records of the people that these people are supposed to represent us, okay, the people in this area, these representatives, when you check out their voting record in Parliament, they always vote against public welfare. They always vote against reform of the NHS, even though they'll talk about it. There's NHS. They need to do something about gypsies. Now, I said in the last video I've got Anglo-Saxon and Norse heritage, as well as the Brittonic Celt heritage. Now, I also have Romani and Brittany gypsy blood. And the attitudes, because of the politicians. Now, in some ways, these people are just as pagan as myself. Sometimes they're not, sometimes they are Christian. But they're not part of the establishment. Now, that I've seen ideas about giving these people, setting up spaces for when these people, because these are travelling people. So if we set up places for these people to travel to, set up places for them, you don't have to really keep up on the upkeep, because they can do that themselves when they come round. Yeah, they can do that themselves. I reckon if they're treated with as much as with the respect that that we expect to give to ourselves, then over time they can, whilst they're not, they will never be completely part of our society, because, well, they're nomadic people. But half of them are being forced to settle down when they don't want to. Some do. Some do want to settle down. This is fair enough. But there are a lot that are forced to settle down because they are criminalised if they don't. And when they do, they're still criminalised and ostracised because of their beliefs, their culture, despite the fact they've been here a long time. Where do we sit as British pagans? Well, I've heard a lot of wokery and people on the left. I'm on the left, personally. I'm not communist. I'm not a communist. I'm not an anarchist. I'm not a Trotskyist. I'm not a Stalinist. Not a Maoist. I'm not really even a Marxist, because socialism was around before Marx and Engels, technically. What I support is the spreading of wealth. That is my economic, political view on when it comes to wealth. We should spread it. No person should have more. You shouldn't have these multi-millionaires. I don't see why they exist. What's the point in them? Apart from to keep the system of poor people. I'm not saying that you can't earn your own money. That's unrealistic. And it's unrealistic and it's unfair. And not just in a oh, it's unfair, oh well, the world's unfair. No, it's unfair. But at the same time, if you've got more than you need to live, and you've got enough to have luxuries as well, and then still have plenty left over, why can't you share that wealth properly? Why does it have to be hoarded? Now, I don't want the ideological answer to this. I want an actual factual answer as to why this would help our society. Because it doesn't. There's no evidence that it does. It's not lifted us out of poverty. Okay. In some ways, it's lifted us all out of poverty, out of the poverty we had, say, 100, 200 years ago. But it's nothing compared to what it could be. Nothing. I don't see. When I was growing up, it was the Tony Blair government. Now the Tony Blair government, there's plenty you can say about it. But the standards of living rose across the board. Not as much as it could have done, but again, it's so much better than it was under the Conservative government. Yes? All the graphs I've seen, and this isn't just propaganda graphs, these are, when I look at TLDR as a news platform, I go into all their references and such. And you see just how different the trajectory of growth is as soon as the Tory party, and it wasn't even, I mean, the growth still carried on for a year or two after the 2008 recession, and that is actually because whilst it wasn't the best solution, Obama and Brown managed to get us to a point where we wouldn't sink. Now there are some that said that we were going to sink anyway. Yes, there was a downturn, but all the graphs I've seen show that we were still on a path of upward trajectory when it came to growth in this country. Now, as soon as the Tories took over, it was. Now, people say it was a Lib Dem Tory thing, but are you lot going to tell me out there that at least half of all Lib Dem MPs aren't turned Tories? They're just moderate Tories. The Tories turned so far right that the Lib Dems are what the Tories, the moderate Tories, would prefer to be. The Labour Party, I'm a Labour member, but the union thing, I can sort of see where Starmer's talking about. He wants to put the Labour government in power. The thing with Sam Tarry wasn't necessarily about the unions, but many people are reading through lines of the supposed lines and seeing that he's just a right winger. is it right wing to want to nationalise, to see it as a practical thing to nationalise things? I'm not sure. I'm sure it is. A lot of what the Tories had to try and do through the pandemic was, at least to start with, was pinching ideas from socialism. But they were crap at it. That's why it wasn't as good as it was. This is why in the 60s and 70s, after Clement Attlee and Aaron Bevin set up the groundwork for a British socialism, a British socialist welfare state that could work for us because of the way our culture works. But the Tories didn't understand socialism. They don't like it. So, but because what they did was an electoral boon and was good for the people, like the workers' reforms, like, you know, the trade. The trade unions got a bit too much power, but that doesn't mean that the trade unions shouldn't have had power in the first place. That's a straw man argument. I think you don't you can't use socialist tactics if you don't really believe them. And look at people who argue against socialism have tried to argue Hitler, National Socialism. It wasn't socialism. He did what Boris did. He took policies that were socialist in nature and promised them. But how did he get into power? Did he use socialist movements to get into power? No, he did not. To get into power, he used capitalist money. Capitalist contacts. And even then, it was when the private businesses were nationalised, it wasn't usually German businesses. It was Jewish businesses. Well, they were German too, but, ethnically German, as they would have called it. Aryan, even though Aryan is more to do with closer to India. Shows you how much of an idiot, how idiotic they were. But this is kind of what they're doing now. I mean, I've seen Liz Truss. What a moron. What an idiot. Everything she's about is moving herself up the political ladder. And she says, I heard her the other night saying that she grew up in a Labour constituency, in a Labour supporting family. Then and when she grew up, she became a Lib Dem, and then she became a Tory. I'm like, and I swear there was a kind of joke of she had to realise what was wrong with society to then become a Tory. No, you had to make rich friends then to to realise that you wanted to be a Tory. Because you care about money and power and your Twitter. I'm not on Twitter, I refuse. I'm sorry everyone, I refuse Twitter, I refuse Instagram. I'm not on WhatsApp. I am on Facebook as Siadawita. But don't ask me to get on Twitter, don't ask me to get on any of that other crap. I'm happy with YouTube, I'm happy with Facebook, well, I'm not happy, but this is what I am happy to do. I don't follow fads and trends so much. But anyway, back to politics. Now, I like Starmer's idea of redistributing power across the UK. I'd like to hear more detail on it. I've heard details of the Green New Deal, and I like it. It's holding most of the stuff over from Corbyn, despite all the doom and gloom from the far left, saying, oh, he's getting rid of everything. No, he's not. Just chill, alright? think of this practically, not idealistically. It's great to think idealistically, and I'd love for... Corbyn got me into politics, like properly got me into politics. It was his idea of a national education system. Service, whatever. I like that. A standard of education, rather than this higgledy-piggledy mess that we have. That's why I'm waiting for myself to go back into the education system, because I don't trust it. Yes, I see you can fight through it, but I don't believe it's a better education system. I want to go into the education system and actually have a good modicum of learning, of education. I want good quality education. Sorry, phone call. Phone call ended. Well, that's wiped my brain completely. Yes, politics. Well, yeah. Like I said, the idealism's great, and I like the NES idea to go alongside the NHS. I don't believe in private schools. I don't see the benefit of them. Ultimately, I really don't. I mean, if you want higher education, if you've got higher education, colleges and universities, why do they need to be private? None of the arguments given to me have made societal sense in the respect of non-elitism. I don't believe in elitism. I don't believe in absolutism either. Everything's on a balance. But you know, we argue in this country so much. All I hear is, what do the Labour Party stand for? What do they stand for? Well, as far as I'm concerned, Labour Party stand for the raised living standards across the board. That's what that stands for. Progress. Labour's Party stands for progress. What does that look like? Sure, at the moment, apart from the steadying of the economy, the furthering of green tech. I think that's a large part of what Starmer wants to do, is furthering of green tech. Building up our energy reserves through green tech, and as a transition through gas, maybe. Again, I reckon we should be talking more to Norway, personally. But it's about the spreading of wealth, and again, no one needs hundreds of millions of pounds. They don't. I don't care what your argument is. You don't need it. As an organisation might, a group of people might need it to make something big, like a spaceship, just on the extreme end of the balance of the scale. But one person doesn't even need £1 million, but there's quite a few of them, and the rest of us are left on the bottom rung trying to get by. And then when we bring up the argument of the welfare system, so why should we pay for you? Why should we pay for fucking knobheads who don't actually work? And not on a basis of not being able to work. They choose not to work because they know they're going to get money, a lot of money, from donors, from shareholders, from all this crap. The same there seems to be some equation made between poor people who can't work, who don't work, and rich people who don't work. I don't understand this, because rich people who don't work because they can't be asked. There are poor people who are on a similar bend, but that's because they don't want to bend their back for someone who doesn't give a fuck anyway, and who's barely going to give them any cash for doing that job. People who want to build their businesses, build your businesses. You know, I haven't got a problem with small to medium sized businesses at all. You want to make your own business. You want to get earn a comfortable life for your family. You do so, but don't expect. Considering the way society is supposed to work, where we help each other, we're not supposed to be consistently arguing with. Well, okay, we're not consistently supposed to be trying to put each other in a worse off position. That's not how to move forwards. You people out there who think that people like me who are disabled should just do anything we can get. No. That's why I am waiting to get into the education system. When it comes to jobs, there's not much I can do. I'm looking possibly try and work in a museum or something. It's something where I can use my brain. That's partly why I'm on here. Because there's a lot I want to say, but I don't get to go out to see anyone because I can't. For me, going out walking everywhere hurts. And I know many people. I grew up around many people like that. You know, the people who struggle the most are vilified a lot the most. You know, there's a lot of this. Oh, disabled people are just lazy. And not only that, but there's this thing about standards, like individual standards. Because I can do it, you can do it. I'm not you. Why? Just because you were in a bad position and you were able to get yourself out of it, you expect me to be able to do the same because you did it. Where's the rationale? What kind of stupid rationale is that? We're all individuals. Yes, there are similarities, but like I had so many people try to give me solutions to my life problems, even before my back and my leg problems, and I tried using these solutions, and they didn't work for me as an individual. And I've seen this elsewhere. You know, just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for me. I will try it if I think it might work. But if it's not going to work, then we have to think of our own ways of doing things. We have to celebrate our individuality. I do. Get taken the piss out for it as well, but fuck it. I am not going to hide anymore. In the next as the year gets colder again, I'm hoping to, and I'm able to move a bit better. I'm hoping to go out and meet religious leaders in the area, community leaders in the area, to try and further the pagan culture cause of trying to reintroduce ourselves into modern British society. Where I think I may have made a mistake before is trying to. I don't think I learned enough. I have an obsession with learning. I will always learn, but I don't think I learned enough the first time round. There are pagans on the political right, and when I say the political right, that can mean a couple of things. That can mean on the economic scale. That could mean on the cultural scale. Now, whilst I don't believe in cancelling everything out, the thing with the statues, Winston Churchill was racist. Okay, He would be insulted if you didn't think you were. The modern sensibilities of how people get all uptight about Churchill, but he was racist. He was responsible for over a million deaths in India. And he couldn't give a toss. He literally couldn't give a toss. And people like to bring up this argument of, oh yeah, he tried to get it. After he caused the problem. After he'd caused the problem and people bitched at him. His own people bitched at him to sort the problem out. So what did he do? He went to Roosevelt. Yeah, this is our great leader. Many people forget we had two leaders during the war, during the Second World War. We had Clement Attlee at home, doing the work at home, and Winston Churchill doing the propaganda war, the propaganda and such work abroad. He was good at that, I'll give him it. And same as Boris. He was good with this Ukraine crisis in certain ways. There's these accusations that if Corbyn was in charge, he'd have sidled up to Russia. Not at all. Partly because Putin isn't on the left. If you think he is, you're ridiculous. Sorry, I think I heard one of my girls. But yeah, no, Putin's not on the left. Give me a break. It's like when people tried to tell me that Macron's on the left. Give me a break. He's centre right at least. But this again, the politics spectrum. That's another thing. That seems to have fucking moved. The Americans don't have a left-wing party that's in charge. Not really. I mean, we know this. I mean, Bernie Sanders is possibly the furthest left American politician that I've heard major word of. Guess what? Gets vilified. But Biden's a centrist. I don't think he's even on the left. I think it's centre right. Mostly. I mean, Social Democrats are on the scale. If you put that as a scale, you got, far left, far right, and the Social Democrats in America kind of hover around the middle area. They can be a bit of both or neither. But they're more swinging right with the way we see politics. And then what I'm seeing is almost an Americanization in this country of our politics. Look at the way Boris has been treating the media. Not just Boris, but his entire government since he's come into power has been treating this as if he's president. He's not president. He's still only just about our Prime Minister. And what? So his whole thing is, I want to be in power. Everyone backed him because of Brexit. We'll get Brexit done. Did you, Boris? Did you get Brexit done? We got across the line. This is true. I'll give him that. However, wasn't an oven-ready deal, let alone microwave oven-ready deal, because they decided it wasn't a great deal. Yeah, Boris didn't understand or completely bullshitted to Northern Ireland, or both. I actually think it's a mixture of both. He both didn't understand it and he lied. Oh, it's Boris Johnson, he's a liar. Jeremy Corbyn, on the other end, I don't agree with everything. The nuclear weapons, well, ultimately, yes, we want to completely get rid of nuclear weapons. That's not something I will argue with. For right now, I don't think it's a good idea. I just don't. I can accept the arguments. I can accept the arguments for otherwise, but not right now. No. I think it would be a little bit stupid. On the subject of us becoming a republic and abolishing the monarchy, there's some argument for this. However, we did try it. We did try this. Oliver Cromwell. Number of years we were a republic. Didn't work. Yes, okay, fine. It was a few hundred years ago, but it's not like Britain hasn't tried to become a republic. Not only that, after we became a monarchy again, it was a constitutional monarchy. The king did not have the power after the monarchy was reconstituted. Anyone who knows their history properly will tell you this. So, in total, where do I sit on politics? We need the Tories out of power in British politics. We need the Tories out of power. Starmer needs to find out. We need to give Starmer a little bit more time, I reckon, because I don't think a general election is close in coming. Not unless Liz Truss is absolute. I mean, she's stupid, but not unless she's suicidal, politically. And even then, I don't think she'll win the next election, really. Not unless Starmer does something completely stupid. Like, really completely stupid. So, yeah. From a pagan perspective in politics, I'd like to see us bring up our national heritage as something that needs to be brought into the equation again. Where's the money going to our national heritage? What about the pagan sites that were supposed to be set up? Pagan worshipping sites that were supposed to be set up. I haven't seen any pagan representatives in Parliament. I have heard that there is one, I think, in the Irish Parliament, in the Taoiseach, but we're here. There are a lot of us. We want to say. And the guy from Survive the Jive might be on the right, but I think there is a lot of stuff we could come to an agreement on. I'm on the left. Yes, I am on the left. I believe in the spreading of wealth. I don't believe in the hoarding of wealth. But, on the subject of statues, move them to museums. Don't destroy them. That's destroying history. That is revisionist. I don't believe in revisionist history. That's bollocks. That's what I think is meant by woke. I ain't woke. I am not woke. Move them to museums. I mean, we don't have to go so far as Germany. I mean, we can take the. It's about having an open view of our history, not a biased one. The nationalists, I find it hilarious. You watch Boris in the House of Commons talk about the SNP, the Scottish Nationalist Party, Scottish National Party. But he's just as nationalist, or at least he's made the Tories just as nationalist. What was Brexit if not a nationalist fucking movement? The hypocrisy is rich in this one. When it comes to Brexit, now I could argue for Brexit and against it. I don't think I was able to vote at the time. I don't think I was in a housing situation where I was able to vote. I'm not sure if that was anything to do with it. Not only that, but I wasn't as politically awakened as I was, say, 2-3 years later. But at the time, when people did get me into the conversation, and when I did do the little bit of research I did back then, there was an argument I put forward for sovereignty. being able to lay down our own laws without having to look to Europe first for its nod of approval. I didn't understand really how it works. That's on me. But I also think it does rely on the Remainers, because it wasn't made clear to me. However, the things I said that against Brexit, I said were going to happen, have happened. Slow down in trade quite a bit. Look at the borders. I said it was going to create friction in our society, and it's exactly what it did. You can argue with it all you like, but that's exactly what it did. That's what it was for. And now we've got to live with it. Now Starmer not saying that he wants to rejoin the EU immediately, not making a manifesto thing. Labour don't have to come out with manifesto promises right now. They're slowly making solid policies. That's what I'm seeing. At least when there are guffs. Corbyn made his own guffs, but I don't think we should be too unfair on Starmer right now. We need the Tories out of power, and I don't trust the Lib Dems. I just don't, because, as I said earlier, I'm sure at least half of Lib Dems are ex-Tories. Not ex-Labour, some of them are, but not ex-Labour, they're ex-Tories. So they naturally bond more to Toryism, which is all about keeping the little guy down. If I have to vote tactically in the next election, I will. If it's to get the Tories out of power. We need to do what we can to get the Conservatives. I don't care about... I've heard Ash Sarkar from Novara Media and Michael, whatever his name is, talking about how it's just red Toryism. It's not. Labour is not the same as Tory. I heard the same about Blair, but again, if Tories were the same, if the so-called red Tories were the same as Tories, why did the standard of living rise across the country under New Labour? And don't tell me I'm bullshitting because I looked at the facts. This isn't my opinion. These are the facts. Go and look for it yourself. But besides that, yeah, this has been my view on politics. And Haran Godak.